welcome back to another episode of Tycoon Online. This is episode 6. And as you can see, we're making a good profit now. What you might also notice is that's plus 400,000, and that's because overnight our staff were unhappy and we lost a ton of money because of it. As you can see, our upticks are now pushing about 350k, which is a pretty healthy amount. Our downticks were probably about 280,000 if I were to guess. But we'll never really know because unfortunately, it's so annoying because it's the tick after I usually go to sleep. I usually go to sleep about 12 a.m., right? And the tick after that is the one where the profit really does spike quite hard, which means, or not, the profit doesn't spike quite hard, is the one where the staff decide whether they're happy or not, which means overnight I just lose the entire night worth of profit, which in this case was probably close to a billion K or a million K, which is just so much money to lose, which really sucks. But yeah, now that that is kind of solved, one thing we do want to do is players are starting to sell 707 320Bs. That's pretty good value actually. I might buy those if they're still here in a little bit, because that's a really good value for 707s. Anyhow, what we are going to do, however, is we're just going to continue buying 2plev 124s, of course, is there's still a lot of demand for these boys, right? And, of course, the purpose of buying all of these is to enable our leasing of 747s, which are going to make our money. Yeah, it's super unfortunate that I lost the night because there's actually a lot of slots available right now. As you can see, Paris, 1,100 slots in the second airport. Frankfurt, 1,100 slots in the second airport. Still waiting for somebody to buy the last 100 slots in London so that upgrades so I can purchase more slots. As you can see, I can't own more than 75% of the total slot, so I cannot expand in London for now. But what I can do is open a new base in Amsterdam. Now, do I really need to do this now as there are slots in Frankfurt and Paris? Not really, so I'm actually just going to hold on to that and keep expanding out of Frankfurt and Paris until there's kind of like absolutely no space in terms of decent routes left between those few airports. Anyhow, yeah, basically with everything that's happened, it's just super unfortunate because I was really hoping to have like a big amount of money to spend when I woke up this morning. As you know, it was going to be a very profitable night. I would reckon I'd have 1.6 billion right now if it weren't for that. As you can see, I rapidly climbed the leaderboard when I'm kind of not actively spending my money, and of course leasing 747s, which decreases your value. One thing I did want to do is I want to check on the top player, as he is very profitable, and it looks like it's going to be quite difficult catching him, especially with mistakes like this. Yeah, he's making about 400k. His optics, however, are really large, as he has a lot of bigger aircraft. Yeah, like a lot of DC 1030, 1040. Which means his upticks are about twice as good as mine. However, I am kind of chasing down his profit. So I'm like right now, I've done some math and I am projected to catch him. I don't know when exactly. All I do know is that I am closing him down. And the reason I know this is because in the time when I joined, he was producing 300k quite stably. So maybe like 280k on a downtake and 330k on an uptick. Something like that. In that time, he has increased to about 400k on a downtick and 600k on an uptick. In that same amount of time, I have gone to about a 300k downtick and a 350k uptick, which means, you know, his uptick has increased about the same as mine, but my downtick has increased much more than his, which means my overall profit or yearly profit has increased more than his, which means if we continue to play, right, mine will continue to increase more than his. So yeah, that's a really good sign altogether. It means all I really have to do is keep doing what I'm doing, and I will reel him down and catch him eventually. Now, given that there's still a lot of space to go, and I keep making mistakes, like forgetting to, I guess what I have to do is, it's not really forgetting, it's just that there's no warning it's going to happen, right? That the staff are going to be unhappy overnight. I'm not awake to go, like, check that thing every 2 hours, right? I'm not that dedicated to this game. And, you know, when I went to sleep, that's the last thing I checked is, are the staff happy? Yes, all right, let's go to sleep. So I think, I don't know what the timing is for the staff being unhappy about their pay, right? But it seems to be about every 2 or 3 years. So I think every other night I'm just going to increase the staff wages, whether or not they're uh, about to be unhappy, just as a preemptive measure, because losing an overnight worth of profits is just really, really devastating in a sense that it's so difficult to recover from. Um, and it feels so bad because I was expecting to be able to make a really nice episode today with a ton of planes, um, like over 10 747s, you know what I mean? But instead we kind of get this tiny little injection of planes where we have to be kind of cautious about what we open and stuff like that, which is a little bit unfortunate because I was hoping for $1 billion of planes. It's like 30 Tupolevs and like 15 747s. It's a lot and a lot of planes, so I'm pretty upset that. Sorry, excuse me. Still a little bit sick. Yeah, I hate viruses, man. They take so long to get better from. Yeah, super annoying. Anyhow, um, let's continue to open some more routes and just kind of fill out our flights. Anyway, one thing I also did kind of want to mention, and I'll show you guys this now, is that the World Traveler Index in this world is really bad. 2,731 in 1974 is not good. Once again, I think this is overall a positive thing for me compared to anyone else. Right? But like it still feels a little bit bad to have such bad World Traveler Index because it basically forces you into the most try hard strategies, I guess, where you use the most optimal planes in every situation, and that's kind of all you can use. Um, which I guess is a little bit unfortunate, but it's also what I do know is that if you don't know about stopover routes, when the World Traveler Index is this slow, the number of options you have is also extremely low. As stopovers basically effectively double the business and tour of a world by making it so that what's it called? The plane size is half, or the number of schedules you need to fill is half in order to achieve 100% load factors, right? So yeah, basically because I actually know how to abuse stopover flights, I kind of gain an advantage over the rest of the world. But it just feels kind of annoying that I have to do that, and I have to fly only the smallest planes available, 707s later on, 767s and A310s, and I can't be enjoying the bigger planes like DC-10s as easily. But yeah, once again, I'm not complaining. This will help me chase down the number one player. Um, don't know how long it will take me to catch him up, especially when I keep making $1 billion mistakes. And keep in mind that $1 billion would probably it'd probably convert into like 30 or 40 Tupolevs, right? And over 10 747s, which then help me produce an extra 50K per turn. And of course, that extra 50K per turn will then help me produce an extra 10K per turn over the next 10 turns, and so on and so forth. And the losses just keep piling up from a little mistake like that. So, yeah, it's a little bit annoying, but hey, that is perfectly fine, and we can continue to open kind of more of the slots in Frankfurt. And we finally ran out, so it's time to move on to Paris. And we run out of slots in Paris, we'll go ahead and open a base in Amsterdam, of course. And let's kind of take a look at our route profile. We're going to be opening in Amsterdam, so looks like we're going to be doing routes like these. Phoenix, San Diego, Mexico City. How many is this? Orlando. Let's see, Rio, and let's see what we have on the Asian side. So the Asian side will be a little bit smaller. Osaka is the best city still available. Shenzhen is a close second. So yeah, basically what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of evaluating the what class configuration I want, and I probably want something like this. I think the business class is maybe just a little bit small. Maybe 49 seats is good. 48 seats. Yeah, and we're gonna go ahead and order some of those. Those are for Amsterdam, basically. Yeah, first of all, of course, we're gonna need more Tupolevs so that we can actually lease a good amount more planes. And of course, we're gonna have to open the Amsterdam base too. which I think I might as well do now. I know there's a lot more flights to Paris that I need to make. Yeah, as you can see like this, but I think there's even better ones available for Amsterdam, so I might as well just go ahead and do that and start using some of the good slots here. And yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of like really good routes to Amsterdam that haven't been taken. And let's use the 747s first. Why not? That's a little bit more exciting. So I think the best route I see so far is Charlotte to Amsterdam to let's see, most of the better Indian cities are taken, so we're going to use something like Bengaluru. Actually, Charlotte is quite close, which means we can do something like Shenzhen and still get 4 schedules, I believe. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, still 4 schedules per week, so that's exactly what we're hoping for. Yeah, let's go ahead and set the prices here. So yeah, this is like a really, really solid level of stopover route we're able to find here. And I think a lot of that is just down to the fact that Amsterdam's just kind of ignored now that it's a little bit smaller than it was in previous Air Tycoons, or maybe the World Traveler Index is just worse. I'm not exactly 100% sure. That doesn't get 4 schedules per week, so we're not going to open that. And instead, we're going to open something like Bengaluru. Just make sure we get that 4 schedules per week, because 3 schedules per week is significantly less profitable unless you're really stretching to the edge of the range of the 747 on both sides. I think if both sides of the stopover route are 8,500 kilometers or so, you're still going to get, or about 17,000 kilometers total, you're still going to get a 4 schedule per week stopover route with the 747. What that means is you really want to push just a little bit farther than that, like or as farther from that as possible, so as close to 9,800, which is the range of the 747-100, as you can to maximize its value. And of course, if you cannot do so, it's kind of advantage. Oh my God, Osaka is even tiny in this world just because of how bad the World Traveler Index is. Jesus. Yeah, anyhow, basically you want to maximize the range if you're going to do 3 schedules per week anyway. Otherwise, always aim for 4 schedules per week on your long haul stopovers, or 5 even. 5 is fine too, right? But yeah, also if you're going to do 4 stopovers, like the like range maximization kind of applies as well. It really does make a really big difference. Like 3 to 4 schedules per week, right, is a 33% increase. Or 25% decrease the other way around. So that is like really, really significant, right? So it's really hard to kind of just ignore that big of a difference. And yeah, we really wouldn't recommend that ever. Anyhow, let's continue to open up some more stopover flights, or not stopover flights, but just direct Tupolev flights. Yeah, once again, this strategy is just so irreplaceable in a sense. Yeah, without it, there would be no hope of making stupid mistakes. Like I have twice now. I've done the no overnight, what's it called? Staffing twice now, which means I've lost a collective 6 or 7 ticks of kind of high profits. And yeah, like both of those have set me back an annoying amount and have made to wait every tick for more money, which is annoying. I hate waiting for more cash. I wish there was a way to speed up the early game. Or the tick rate in the early game should just be faster, in my opinion, because there's less things to do, right? Like later on when you're more profitable, and you have something like 3 or 4 billion per tick, it's an exhausting chore to use all that money. You have to order a lot of big aircraft, find routes for all of them, and if you don't want to find routes for them, that's fine. I guess you can also replace older aircraft and such and such. Right, but that's still a lot of stuff to do. And in the beginning of the game, you need to wait a whole day to get that much money, right? So, or more. And yes, planes are a little bit cheaper, but not by so much that that's really something that's going to be too worth it. I should have bought a promotion before. Let's do it now before we get even bigger. Yeah, but basically the goal of that is promotions are really cheap. When you have very few flights set up to a new location, right? And they get more expensive, and they're extremely worth it before you expand into a new hub. And then every route you open, it still gets that promotion despite only paying for it as if It was still a very small minor base, which is a kind of nice tech. Like holy shit! Like look at Prague. Prague is only 250 business and tour. Vienna is barely scraping 300. Yeah, like I don't know. Every single world I play has a terrible world traveler index. Um, and yeah, I guess I need to just stop complaining about that and just appreciating the fact that it gives me an advantage despite me not liking it at all. I would love to fly direct large aircraft everywhere because it's just super fun, right? And also now that I have kind of like instant slot delivery, I feel like I could expand really big. Like I could get a absolutely huge amount of flights in the late game, um, and kind of make that work. What's it called? In the previous games I've played, I've always been limited by late game plane delivery speed, as you can only order one every 30 minutes, or a batch of 10 every 30 minutes at least, right? And the reason why that's a really big limitation is, well, a batch of 10 every 30 minutes means in maybe about 8 hours a week, you can order about 160 aircraft. Some of those can be used for expansion, but a lot of those will have to be used to replace your existing planes, right? So think about this. Each plane has a 20-year lifespan, which is 20 days in real life. Which means if you can only order 160 planes, the maximum size fleet you can have is 3,200. Because any more than that, and every single plane you buy will have to be used to replace an old previous plane you owned. It's also really hard to get there, because if on any single day you don't maximize your plane orders, that's going to fall off, right? So I think I took a look at my previous game worlds. I think I finished with something like 2,000 aircraft, which I think is really good. That means if I ordered every 30 minutes for 8 hours a day, which is pretty reasonable. I think it's pretty hard to be dedicated enough to do more. Like, of course, you're awake for about 16 hours a day, but are you really going to remember to order exactly every half an hour in that waking 18, 16 hours or so? I don't think so. I don't think that's reasonable. And of course, I did not succeed in doing so. Anyhow, that being said, in this game world, now that I have instant plane request, is I can theoretically manage a much larger fleet. I personally don't think I would be surprised if by mid to late game, I will be able to push fleets of 3,000 aircraft plus pretty easily. As well, the instant plane request means I'll be able to replace all my planes basically whenever I feel like it. I won't have the problem where I have billions in cash I can't spend, so only a small portion of my cash is actually working towards increasing my value. So yeah, anyways, with that in mind, we can kind of just take a look, a little evaluation at where we're at now. So on the leaderboard, we are 14th. We're climbing rapidly whenever we're kind of not leasing and actively pushing our value down by, the down payments of leases can really push your value down. Of course, value is the end goal, right? But it's still actually very efficient because the plane will ROI so fast. Like, let's take a look. And if you don't know what ROI means, it means return on investment. This is a down tick, keep in mind. So let's take a look at a pretty average plane. Kunming to Paris. All right, it's making 3.7K on one half of the stopover. This is not the best arrangement to look at stopover routes. Let me fix that real quick. All right, let's take a look at this somewhat average route. It's not completely full, which means it could be doing better. It's making 4K on one half of the stopover, and on the other half, it's making 4K again. So this is a 747-100 making about 8K per turn. I'd reckon the break even for this plane, like, of course, it says net profit. There's a lot of expenses not accounted for here, such as advertising investment, service investment, and probably there's some others. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Just random willy-nilly airline expenses. I would reckon the actual total income for this plane is probably about minus 3K on this, so probably about 5.5K, which means it'll return that lease investment, which is about 50,000, in just about 10 turns. And after 10 turns, everything that plane makes is just pure profit. Now, of course, there's some which are even worse, like the 747 here, Doha to London, and then London to Santo Domenico or something like that. Santo Domenico is actually pretty good. London to Calgary, you know, this one's only making about 6K. Once again, we have to look at the really sad. See, this is the period of time I forgot to pay my staff enough, and well, yeah, that's a big chunk of lost money there for all my routes. Yeah. Anyhow, with that in mind, we're doing fine now. As the turns pass, we're gonna kind of catch up to where we should be. Why am I looking at my notifications? What the? Yeah, man, this World Traveler Index though, it's just, whew, whew, it is aggressively bad. 3,000, 2,000. I wonder if there's a limit to how low it can go. Like, what if this thing goes into the 2600s? I don't know. Like, is this basically an economic crisis for most people's worlds? I reckon the average player around this time probably has about 3,000 World Traveler Index, and it's, you know, pretty reasonable guess. Anyhow, with that in mind, we're just going to continue doing this strategy off camera, whether it's on or off, right? We probably added like a really large amount of planes since last episode. Most of it is me just, you know, spending my cash every turn I get it. Doing the same strategy, which I do on camera anyway. Now, one thing that is to note is kind of there's not a lot of great 747 routes to Amsterdam available left. Sorry, I've been holding in that sneeze for a while. It feels a lot better to actually just sneeze it out. So, anyhow, there's probably like 4 good stopover routes to Amsterdam left. After that's kind of exhausted, I'm probably going to just go back to either Paris stopover routes, of which there's still a few good ones. And I say good, like, kind of cautiously optimistically as well. I know that these routes are no longer big enough to keep the planes full, at least during down ticks, but they still make a good amount overall. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.